Hello everyone, welcome to A Foreigner Farming in the Philippines. Well, I'm doing a little bit of creative engineering here. Dave, Tilapia Aquaponics Dave, had bought this originally for this little air pump originally for the round shrimp tank. And since that whole build is not going to happen now, he has agreed to sell me this little air pump, and we didn't discuss it, but he said to use this soaker hose here as an air line. We didn't discuss buying it, but I'll go ahead and buy that from him as well. David said he's used this in Thailand, and these hoses give out an amazing amount of fine bubbles. They work like an air stone, but they're much cheaper, I would assume. I'm not that familiar with it. As always, when you do something that is not ready-made, you have to do a little bit of retrofitting. So this is, this is what came with the unit right here. So this is your, I would assume this is 1/4 inch high quality tubing here, and this is the manifold that it plugs into, and this is an example of the line that goes into the manifold, which would then go out to a stone. I had originally thought that I would use this line hooked up here and going into the hose. But when I got it up here, I noticed that the ID on it is much smaller than the ID on this, and I'm sure we get half the air out of it. So I hate getting half of the air out of anything when I need it all plus some. So there's no way that these are the fittings that came on this hose, on this soaker hose. There's no way I'm going to find any quick disconnects here that would hook from this to this hose. So I've just disassembled those. I cut a small notch in this here. The ID and OD are close on this. They're not real close, but with that little notch cut out, I can put a hose clamp on that right there, and that will hold that securely, and I'll be able to use it. The soaker hose itself, look, I've never used this before, but just from what I know about how things work, I guess you could call it practical engineering, I know that the air that enters this line is going to want to find the path of least resistance. And that path is going to be what is in the air, as opposed to that's going to be what portion of this hose is exposed to the air versus what portion of this hose which is going to be underwater. And I'm just guessing that if this, because I don't have enough of this line, and I don't feel like making a trip into town just to get a couple meters of this line, making a special trip, I just don't want to do it. So because I don't have 2 meters of this, if I had 2 meters of this, I could just make the connection and put all of this under the water. But for now, I'm just using black electrical tape, and I'm carefully wrapping this to seal it. Now these are low pressure pumps. These are volume air pumps, not pressure. They might make, I don't know if it's even rated for kilopascals or however they call it. My guess is that it would put out 3 or 4 psi max, and that's not nearly enough to expand this electrical tape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do about 2 meters of this. I went and got the camera because I need to rest my thumb, because I've done a couple feet, and and because I'm doing it carefully and with tension on the electrical tape, I don't want to do it while I'm tired, or while my finger's tired. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook all this up, and I'm going to kink the other end, and I'm going to set it down in the water and see how it works. This little air pump is exactly the same size, probably the same output as the little air pump I have now in the breeding / fry pits. This will run about 5 small air stones, 5 of the air stones like this long, and do okay. How well it's going to do, I think this is a 25-foot hose, 8-meter hose, however you want to say it. Something is just telling me it's not going to put out enough to make raging bubbles come out of all this hose. That's why my feelings aren't really hurt from having to cover up the first 2.5 meters of it with electrical tape, because I think this little pump is just not going to provide the volume of air that would really make this hose work. But we will see. I'm going to finish putting it together, and we'll go down and give it a test drive. Alright, well, I've got it in the water. I've got it all hooked up there. Just used a hose clamp to secure that. Marcel went around in there. We've secured it down with stones for right now. Got to do something different because I need to be able to get a net in and out easily. So we've got to figure out some other way to weight that down. Maybe just tie the stones to it. But there it is. So the moment of truth. I'm going to go plug it in. You want to plug it in for me, love? Sure. I stuck it through the pipe there. So we'll see if this is going to work. There's already Lamont growing in this just one day later. Do you find the cord, love? Huh? Faster.
I need a stick.
You need a stick. What do you need?
Give me the screw. So I can, because it's only halfway.
Oh, okay. Well, that's all.
Yeah, it's working.
Slowly pushing the water out around the corner there.
Wow, it's very nice. But how about the other side? Look at here.
It's the hose is full of water, so it has to, and this is very low pressure application, so it's got to push the water out of the hose. That is really noisy. I didn't bring any nylon with me to hang this.
I will hold B.
Can you go down in the shop and just get like a meter of nylon where I can... Where? There, oh? Okay. So, this beginning portion here, the lion's share of the air is coming out of it right here. And I think that has more to do with the depth that the hose is in the water than anything else. It's about 2 feet deep. these are not pressure pumps. And even the difference in atmosphere, even the difference in water pressure down 2 feet from the surface is a lot different than it is right here. So the air is coming out, and that's actually quite a bit. That's more than what you would get out of 5 stones probably. But it seems to have stopped right about there. I'm gonna see if I can push this down in the water a bit more. Man, that's noisy. So that does make a little bit of a difference, because see, it's coming out even down here now. So we need to secure this down into the water. Oh, and this came out from underneath the rocks down there. All right, well, we've got to secure it a little bit better and get this portion down in the bottom. And I'm pretty sure then it would aerate through this whole hose. Marcel's going to get some nylon right now, so we'll get that hung up in the air, make a few adjustments, and finish this up. All right, well, there it is. This isn't just it's just not a high enough volume pump, volume and pressure, either or combined, to push it any farther. The bubbles start here in the hose, and it lessens as it goes around the corner there, and less and less and less.
Little bit there.
A little bit?
Yeah, did you see that?
Yeah. So, yeah, there is just a few tiny little bubbles coming out down here.
Well, maybe the water is...
It might push it.
Long.
Yeah, it might push it a little bit further. This kind of a pump, about 2 feet deep in the water, is like the maximum. So however deep this is, that's as deep as it'll work. If I submerge this hose 6 feet, I wouldn't get anything out of it, because it's not a pressure pump. But that's a lot of air coming out of a small pump. So what I was thinking of doing is just cutting the hose right about there, and instead of having it start in the middle here, it would be enough to start it back here. So one pump is enough to, this is almost a 20-foot tank. I had it paced off at one time, I just can't remember. So one small compressor like that, and I think this is a 45 watt. It's the larger of the small styles that you can get. Might be the next size up from the one that I've got. Anyway, you can get about 20 feet of bubbles out of the hose doing it this way. Now, whether or not it's delivering a higher volume of air through this hose than if it was coming through a stone, who knows? And I never asked David how much this hose cost, so I don't know if it's cheaper. You know, the bubbles have actually come to here.
Yeah.
It may, it may at some point make it all the way to the end, but I don't have high hopes. But there's a lot of air coming out of it for one pump. I mean, that's a lot of air all the way around the side.
It's a lot now, Daddy.
Oh.
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 I think pushing the water now. No.
Oh.
You want me to swim there and then make a bubble?
Oh. So it works well, and the Oki engineering that I did on it is also working well. There's no air escape through any of that. The electrical tape is holding well.
See, there's a lot of bubbles now.
This I just used a hose clamp on it, and this is held well.
If you want a lot of bubbles, I can put a lot of soap there, powder.
You need a lot of soap powder? I don't think that's exactly what we need, love.
You want bubbles, right? I'm gonna put
Ay, Maria.
ng konting islapin. I will put a lot of powder and then shake it. Shake, and then there's a lot of bubbles.
What are you gonna do?
Shake it. Mix.
Oh, yeah.
I will just throw a lot of powder.
You'll let the bubbles mix it?
Detergent, and mix and mix a lot of bubbles. Nang no?
So, David, it works. And it works well. So, that's enough water, or that's enough air for a tank this size. Yeah.
There's bubbles a lot now. I did not put powder yet.
Yeah. And there are a few little bubbles escaping down here.
None. Oh, see?
None. Oh, see?
Just need. It takes time to,
it takes time.
to push.
Takes time to push?
Push the water to go.
Oh my God. Thank you, everyone. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe.